National Guard in D.C. what it is and the unique power that lets a president deploy it. U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement that he is placing Washington, D.C.'s police under federal control and deploying 800 National Guard troops has again thrust the force into the center of a political and legal debate. Speaking at the White House alongside Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Attorney General Pam Bondi, Trump said the Guard would help restore law, order, and public safety in the Capitol. Despite federal crime statistics showing violent crime in 2024 was at its lowest in 3 decades, the decision is part of Trump's long-running strategy of using federal authority to intervene in Democrat-led cities, a move supporters call decisive and opponents see as politically motivated. But what exactly is the National Guard, and why is its deployment in Washington, D.C. significant? The United States National Guard is a military reserve force within the U.S. Armed Forces that occupies a unique position in the country's defense and emergency response system. Unlike the regular Army or Air Force, it has a dual mission. It can operate under state control to respond to local crises, and it can be federalized by the President for national security missions or even overseas combat deployments. The IT is made up of 2 components. The Guard is present in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and U.S. territories, including Puerto Rico, Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. The Guard's missions can be grouped into state-level and federal-level duties. State roles federal roles include Guard deployments have ranged from Hurricane Katrina relief in 2005, to COVID-19 pandemic logistics, to security during major events like presidential inaugurations. According to the U.S. Department of Defense, the National Guard had 431,291 members as of 2023. Most Guard members serve part-time, holding civilian jobs or attending college. They undergo basic military training, then continue with monthly drills, usually 1 weekend and an annual 2-week training period. The Guard's command structure depends on its activation status. The D.C. National Guard is the only Guard unit that reports directly to the President at all times, not to a state or territorial leader. This arrangement means Trump can order its deployment without approval from D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser. In the United States, there is a long-standing law, the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878, that generally prohibits the federal military from carrying out domestic law enforcement duties, such as policing streets or making arrests. The idea is to keep the armed forces out of civilian life. The National Guard, when under state control, is exempt from this restriction, which is why governors can use it to assist police during emergencies. However, a president can sidestep these limits by using the Insurrection Act of 1807. This law gives the president the power to deploy the military, including a federalized National Guard, inside the country if there is an armed rebellion, widespread unrest, or a breakdown of law and order that local authorities cannot control. While the National Guard is usually activated by a state's governor, there have been moments in U.S. history when the president has stepped in directly, bypassing local authority. Critics argue that Trump's action is politically driven. Violent crime in D.C. is currently at a 30-year low, and opponents say his rhetoric, portraying the city as overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, does not match the data. Supporters, including House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer, call it a bold and necessary action to restore public safety in the Capitol. The move also comes after a high-profile attempted carjacking that injured Edward Coreystein, a former DOJ employee, which Trump cited as proof of DC's alleged lawlessness. Swipe left for next video. The U.S. National Guard is a centuries-old citizen soldier force that can serve both local and federal missions. In most places, governors control its deployment for emergencies, but in Washington, D.C., the president alone commands it. Trump's latest use of the Guard, alongside a temporary federal takeover of the city's police, is as much a political flashpoint as a law enforcing